morning. Welcome to the Pitchline Chronicles. I'm Uncle Tass here with Donald. And listen, we are entering a season financially where there are going to be a lot of question marks as 2026 will be the final year of the CBA. And as much as we will be getting into the CBA as the offseason goes in, I think that this is the perfect opportunity to take the time and try to guess which direction the Yankees will go in. Will they go all out this offseason and try to capitalize on a year before the inevitable shutdown? I think there will be. Do they go all out for Cole and Judge in their prime and try to be as aggressive, more so than they've ever been in the last few years, or are they going to stay pat and just try to keep the salaries low so they are not tied into a ton of money as throughout the season and try to bank as much as they can, which I think the latter is going to be the case. I don't see the Yankees going all out this offseason. I do think they're going to try to make significant changes, but the finances is going to be a big question. And I think that that's one question that people are really not getting into just yet. But it is going to come into play where I said to Donald before the show, and I want to hear his take on it, and you guys in the chat as well. I can see that when the players are negotiating for contracts, they're going to want the 2026 year to be a heavy salary year because if there is a shutdown, they don't get paid. So you can see year two of a contract being on the lower scale. That's just my take on it. My opinion. I stand. It's there's no facts to it. It's just an assumption on my part. But Donald, do you think that that's something that can come into fruition?
The CBA shutdown?
I do think there's going to be a shutdown. These owners, they're. I mean, the Steinbrenners are all in for a salary cap. They want it. They're tired of what. But here's all right. I know we're going to try to get into the CBA stuff later and the salary cap, but let's just get into that, right? Why would why would an organization like the Yankees, who have the money to do whatever the fuck they want, why would they go and they spend $300 million a year while other teams are paying out a fraction of it when they have the means to do exactly what the Steinbrenners are doing or what the Dodgers are doing, in Toronto? These organizations that have high payroll, it's not. We used to joke about that a lot. I'm telling you, I would be the commissioner right now. I'd fix everything. I'd be more curious. I've always said I'd rather there be a salary floor. I said it right when we started this podcast 5 years ago. So I think there should be more of a floor than a cap. But they're going to want that. A team like the Pirates, their owner has the funds. The Royals, the Tigers. The Tigers, I think, are becoming the AL version of the Pirates because of the way that they just want to dump everybody. They don't want to give Struble an extension, so they're going to trade him rather than pay him. And that's it's a bad look for ownership, and it's kind of a slap in the face to the fan base. That have been loyal to their brand. We're loyal to the Yankees, whether they're winning or losing. But I think that there's going to be a real, locking of the horns with the MLB union and the commissioner's office, and it's going to baseball. I'm expecting 2027 to be shut down.
Well, there's certain things that they have to do. Like, for instance, they have to strip away the idea that there's a penalty for signing a free agent that rejected a qualifying offer. Like that's a must. You've got to strip the penalties for signing free agents. Like that's all because there's only a few teams that actually spend anyway. So that's so absurd. Of course, they definitely need to see a salary floor. There has to be some kind of incentive in order for organizations to spend. Absolutely. you could make the argument that there should be like a mandatory case that you spend at least 40% of your revenue on your baseball operation. Like that, that should be a must. And by the way, the Yankees are only just sneaking into that 40%. They're barely into it, which really shows where Hal Steinbrenner is. And I think that's a good segue because we can certainly discuss um, we can certainly discuss the CBA, but what we really need is more information, more
Yep.
evidence, and less speculation. But what we do know is that Hal Steinbrenner would love a salary cap, and that tells you everything.
Everything.
Do you think George would want a salary cap? Do you think Hank, rest in peace, would want a salary cap? Hell to the no. Hal would love one. Why would Hal love one? Because it takes the responsibility away from him. And that's the problem. This idea that Hal cares is such a fallacy. Healing Man's Heart says Hal is such a loser. There is no bigger loser when you think about it. When you think about it, Hal Steinbrenner is just the absentee landlord at this point. He's the absentee landlord, and that's why I have no idea how committed he will be for this year. Because so far, I've seen no evidence that he's that committed. How many times did you see him at Yankee Stadium this year, guys? How many times? Saw him once. I saw him once when the President of the United States visited for 9/11. Once. How many statements have we heard from Hal Steinbrenner after the Yankees got embarrassed by the Blue Jays? How many? Any takers? Any takers? Oh, how about zero? Zero statements. Nothing from Hal Steinbrenner. He uses Brian Cashman as his mouthpiece. Brian Cashman said, "Oh, he's very disappointed." Really? Oh, really? How disappointed are you? Because you couldn't be bothered to put it on pen to paper? You couldn't get your PR staff to write some nonsense? Couldn't do it? And I'm supposed to believe that you care? Fuck out of here, care. Care my ass. And honestly, it's such an insult to a lot of these fans that do care. I mean, obviously, we care. We do these shows 3 times a week. We have fans that will do anything for the Yankees, and he takes advantage of it. Takes advantage of us. So, how committed will the Yankees be? I have absolutely no idea. Judging by where we're at, considering we barely spend about 40% of our revenue, which is middle of the pack in baseball in terms of ratio of revenue to spend. Middle of the pack. Am I that convinced that Hal will suddenly go, you know what? Go sign me Kyle Tucker. You know? Go sign me Dylan Cease. Like, he's not going to go sign me Pete Alonso. I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. But I know that there's fans out there because I have interacted with some that are like, well, how much do you need him to spend? I mean, $300 million is more than enough to win a championship with.
Not anymore. Well,
do you know what? Here's the thing, though, with Hal Steinbrenner, man. It's not about what he spends.
It's how he spends it.
Or even how he spends it. It's deeper than that. It's how active are you as the owner of the New York Yankees? How active are you? You know, you need to set, as an owner of anything in the world, you need to set goals for your employees, right? I think that's pretty much a given, right? You have to have goals, you need to have a strategy, you need to be like, this is what we're aiming for, and this is how you're going to achieve it. If you don't achieve it, then I'm going to find someone else that will achieve it. That's how you are an owner of anything. In any walk of life, any business, from the bottom up, doesn't matter how much revenue you make as a business. That is how you run a business, right? This is our strategy. This is our goals. This is how you're going to get it, right? That should be how Hal Steinbrenner runs the Yankees. Does he do that? No. He walks in and goes, here's your budget. Make sure you make the playoffs. If you don't, and then he goes on his yacht, drinks some mimosas, and enjoys the beautiful Southern Europe weather. That is Hal Steinbrenner. And if he's not on a yacht, then he'll be in Tampa, enjoying the beautiful Tampa weather. Either way, he's fine. He is fine. And what were the and anyone else who disagrees? Okay, everyone's welcome to disagree. Okay. What were the consequences for the Yankees missing the playoffs a couple of years ago?
There was none. Yeah.
What was the consequences for the Yankees embarrassing themselves in the World Series, throwing the ball all over the ballpark, and making a complete fool of themselves? 0. What were the consequences for the Yankees losing the division this year, settling for a wild card, and then getting beat back-to-back games by a football score by the Blue Jays? 0. There's 0 consequences for anything. And I'm supposed to be thinking here that Hal Steinbrenner is planning some kind of huge spend. I mean, I hope so, but I highly doubt it. He's not committed. He's an absentee landlord, and the Yankees don't have any standards. They don't have any goals. The only goal is to make the playoffs, and if they don't, that's basically Hal Steinbrenner. So, I'm sorry. I don't know. I need to see it to believe it. We have no idea what the Yankee budget is, which is a problem in itself.
Well, you hear the argument a lot, and I've made it myself. Because there is a small window. There's a cracked window in defense of Hal, where why am I going to go over these luxury taxes where I have to share my revenue now with the smaller market teams when they're not going to invest the money into their own team and put it in their pocket? Why would I want to just give my money for somebody else to pocket because I'm the one trying to be competitive and you are not? Like that's business wise, Hal's not an idiot for that. Competitive wise, yes, that makes him a moron. It doesn't matter what your shared revenue should be. The objective is to have the players that you've invested your time and money in to go down that canyon of heroes with all of us cheering them on.
That should be the objective. That's
the owner's main objective.
That's the fans' objective. That's what the fans want. The fans want championships. The fans want us to spend.
And I think the players want the same thing.
Of course the players want the same thing. Most of them. I can't speak for all of them because they don't have, a lot of them don't have a great winning mentality, but yeah, I'm sure a lot of them do. That's the difference. That's the key thing here, because Hal Steinbrenner cares about the bottom line. He's a good businessman. I'm not saying he's a bad businessman. He's a good businessman. He's making outrageously good profits. He's almost earning $900 million in revenue a year on an average year, and he only has to spend 40% of it. I mean, sign me up. That's ideal, right? That's what Hal Steinbrenner's like. He's looking at that bottom line. He's like, damn, that's a beautiful bottom line. I could pay off my bondsman. I could pay off all my family members. I could pay off XYZ. And I've still got myself another $200 million I can stick in my back pocket for Southern Europe. Right? That's Hal Steinbrenner. That is Hal Steinbrenner. And if the Yankees do well, he's not going to be disappointed. It's not like he genuinely wants the Yankees to fail. It's not anything like that. It's just that, yeah, he'd love to see the Yankees win. But if they don't, it doesn't put him up or down because the strategy remains make money, make a lot of money, and that's it. That's where the Yankees have differentiated, and it's unlike any other owner of the major sports of the major organizations in New York. Now, obviously, some are better than others, but like John Mara, for instance, okay, um, his abilities as an owner are highly questionable. In fact, pretty bad. But one thing you can't say that he isn't is he's an enormous Giants fan. He's a huge fan, and he would do anything for the Giants to succeed. Right? There is no question about that. James Dolan of the Knicks, he gets a lot of criticism, but no one will ever criticize that he'll spend whatever it takes for the Knicks to have a very, very good team, and they certainly do, and they have a championship caliber team. So can't really question him either. Um, Steve Cohen's done dick as a Mets owner, but he spends like 93% of their revenue on that shitty ass baseball team in Queens. He'll do whatever it takes to win a championship. They are the favorites to go and make a deal for Terry Skubal, by the way, according to Bob Klapisch. So, like, he will do whatever it takes. You saw what it took for him to go and get Juan Soto. He'll does because he's a fan first and foremost. And I'm sorry, it's a good thing if you have a fan of your team as an owner. It is a good thing. Now, I'm not going to speak for the Johnsons because they're a disaster over the Jets, so I can't talk about them. Luka could, but they're really bad. They're horrible. They're embarrassing. So at least Hal's not the Johnsons, but he's not a fan. And I'm sorry, you do need to care about wins and losses as an owner of a baseball team or of any sports organization. To be fair, so I think that's where there's a divergence. Do you know what I'm saying? He's sort of like it doesn't put them up or down whether they win or lose as long as they make extremely good profits, right? But you are like, well, why don't you spend what it takes to win a championship and go down the canyon of heroes? And it should be the latter, but with Hal Steinbrenner, it's the former.
Yeah, it's look. I think the salaries are getting a little, out of control. Because it does eliminate a lot of the market. And I understand. Like you can, while I don't agree, because the Yankees do have the financial flexibility to be, they could strong arm a negotiation for a contract as much as the Dodgers did in the Mets. They have that. They might not have as deep of pocket as some of the conglomerate teams. I'll put the Blue Jays in there too with the Rogers Group. They have all the means in the world to be just as forceful to get big contracts than some of the other teams. The Pirates are not going to outbid you. The Giants aren't going to outbid you. We saw that with Judge. His hometown team couldn't steal him away from the Yankees, and it took Hal from calling from that yacht. Let's not dismiss Hal for that. But at the same time, it just goes back to the argument of how much do I have to spend and invest to get nothing in return? And that's where you take a deeper look into this upcoming season. Is Cashman going to utilize the money that Hal allows him properly? Now, we all know, look, Cashman will go and he will plug in position players. he will make, he does put the effort in to go after players, but I think it also there's such a deeper rooted problem. I also think it also falls on what a lot of people don't talk about, the scouting department. Like this organization seriously needs a huge overhaul. Never mind with the roster. I think this is that time before free agency kicks in, before the World Series comes to a conclusion. There is a serious issue as far as the philosophy and the fundamentals of how the management teams are running this organization. Never mind the players they're bringing in, because the
Yep.
players they're bringing in are fine. We've seen successful players come in. Look at Caballero, right? He came in. He inspired everybody to be a little more aggressive on the bases and smarter on the bases. We saw that cleaned up. We saw the move for Bellinger. So they have hit on players. But I think when it comes to the player development and the scouting department, I think they're falling a bit short when it comes to true talent evaluation. And part of the market is, are they going to be able to, sustain criticism when they're in that slump?
Do you
That's
know
why
that
that's
you're
why
onto something there, man? Because that's my biggest like that's where I'm actually more mad at Hal is that again that's the kind of stuff that he needs to be paying attention to. If there's certain areas of his organization that are not performing up to scratch, regardless of the playing talent, if your development isn't there, he needs to start holding that accountable. Holding them accountable, holding the front office accountable to
Mhm.
go and bring in better scouts. If the analytics is off, then he needs to hold that front office accountable and go. We need a new voice in the analytics department. Do you know what I'm saying? And if you're looking at it and going, well, why is it that Jason Dominguez hasn't taken a step forward? Oh, because Aaron Boone doesn't play him. But
Bad
I mean,
leadership.
why is it that he's not taking the step forward that we all expected? Why has Anthony Volpe suddenly become the worst player in the entire sport of baseball? How does that happen? As an owner, I would be looking at that going, I think our development is off. I think we need to. Duran says the
I
Yankees
think
are
I think it's sarcasm.
all right. Okay, I
But
was about to
no,
go.
see,
I was about
this
to go
previous
on a long
no.
rant,
But I
but
think this comment here says it all, though. Where that's why I'm saying it's not so much. I think
no, no,
where
no.
I'm leading in,
Don't get me wrong. The development in the minor leagues is fine, but once they reach the majors, they take a huge step
everything
back.
goes to shit.
Yes, that's what my point is.
Yeah,
So I would be looking at that, going, well, are they good enough? And if not, why not? Those are the kind of stuff that our owner should be taking advantage of, but he doesn't. He just leaves it all to Brian Cashman, and Brian Cashman, he's got rose-tinted glasses. He's invested in Anthony Volpe. Um, so he's just let him just completely collapse. Donald Jason did okay this season. Well, not in left field because the Yankees are playing him out of position. And to be fair, he should have been a lot better than he was, but the Yankees never played him. Why is that?
and his bat didn't develop. Go get back to form the way we
Yeah, he was
expect.
okay. I liked Dominguez. I thought Dominguez was
Yeah,
fine.
I'm not giving
Offensive,
up on him, but he's the barometer of expectations has been reset as far as Dominguez.
but he was terrible in left field, and the Yankees moved him to left field. So that's what I'm talking about. The kind of
Mm-hmm.
decisions that the Yankees made. Um, you know, why did they, for instance, move Jazz Chisholm over to third base? Why did they decide that Gleyber Torres was a good shortstop? They make these decisions. They destroy their own talent. They love to do that. They've been doing that for a while. Anthony Volpe, they've just completely done an awful job with this kid. ruined him. And he's the worst player in baseball now, without a question. And there's not much really positive evidence that the Yankees are getting the most out of their development. Did Austin Wells take a step forward this year? No, he didn't. He should have been a guy that was better than he was. He wasn't. He was okay defensively, but offensively took a huge step back. Um, I think it goes right across the board because then you could go back to previous years. What happened with Andujar? Um, Andujar just they didn't get the most out of Andujar. They passed up multiple trades for Andujar. So, and there's other millions of other examples. The Yankees just haven't gotten the most out of their development. They just haven't.
And
So
that's the biggest problem, Donald. And this is the thing we've been talking about forever. We've been having this conversation since the first time we talked to each other in a chat room. It's you have Andujar for not like you have all these guys that were great in the minor leagues, and they get to the major leagues, and they just go to shit,
yeah,
right? And this goes
Florial, Florial.
Florial Sanchez. Let's not.
Oh,
We can't even
Lord.
say this is. We can't even say this is just a strictly a Boone thing. And Girardi did everything he could.
Yeah.
I don't want to make this like a let it's also Girardi's fault. But you had these play. Greg Bird was supposed to be the guy.
Oh, good Lord.
The Severino I think was one of those. Yeah, he gave us everything he could. I think the injuries just got brought out the worst of his numbers, and it was
Right,
time to
but
move on.
that's where. But Brian Cashman did something stupid. He extended him before checking
Exactly.
his and making sure his arm was healthy.
Clint Frazier.
Oh,
I mean,
Clint Frazier. Jesus,
oh my.
what the Yankees did to that kid.
It's yeah, Higashioka, perfect backup. They tried using him, more often, and I think it just caused they cause these players to get exposed in situations where they're not built that way. They're backup players. And
I don't
it's
think
really a
Clint Frazier
shame.
is a tool, man. He's a different cat, and I don't think that the Yankees know how to deal with people that are just a little bit of a different cat. You know what I'm saying? The reason why Clint Frazier completely collapsed is not necessarily because he's a quote unquote tool. He'd have one good game, and instead of the Yankees going, oh, like you might be getting hot here, let's make sure that
Yeah,
he's in the lineup
let's
tomorrow.
bench him the next game.
We sent him down to AAA the next game. He was up and down like a freaking yo-yo. You know what I'm saying? He was up and down like Britney Spears knickers. Honestly, it's just how is anyone supposed to be developed that way? And then he got concussed, and it all went to shit.
Yeah, that was tough.
He never ever got an opportunity. So he got the Estevan Florial treatment. Florio would line a double, and then he'd be sent down to AAA the next day, and that's not how you develop people. But
And Peraz is one of the more recent ones too. These are guys. We could even bring Volpe into the conversation. Yeah,
let's get a start. Let's get a start. That was quick. That was witty as shit.
you, you get these players, and they're like, you pass up on all these trades. We could have had Cole 3-4 years earlier, but no,
exactly. Could have got him for Andujar. Frazier and Bird had serious injuries which were mishandled by the Yankees staff. Exactly. Now you can add Anthony Volpe to that. Popped his shoulder, and the Yankees are like, "You'll be fine. Throw some Robitussin on it. You'll be back in."
Rub some dirt on it. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Rub some Robitussin on it. You'll be grand. That's how the Yankees handle their injuries. So, but that's the kind of stuff that, again, to go back to Hal Steinbrenner, that's the stuff that Hal Steinbrenner should be paying attention to. Why did the Yankees medical staff allow Anthony Rizzo to be playing for months?
Yeah.
With a concussion, a serious concussion where he couldn't see straight. He was seeing fucking he was seeing he was seeing birdies flying across his fucking head. That's how fucked he was, man. And the Yankees were like, "You'll be fine. Go play the most dangerous fucking like go and face 100-mile-an-hour fastballs. You'll be fine every day." Ridiculous. So that's the kind of stuff that I want my owner to be paying attention to. Now, Brian Cashman is responsible for not doing anything in that regard, but again, he doesn't have a boss, so he can get away with all this shit. He needs a boss. Everybody needs. If you're a fucking employee, you need a fucking boss. Otherwise, the inmates will run the asylum, and that's what's happening right now. We got Aaron Boone. He can cry his way right through every year, cry and chew bubbles. Fucking Brian Cashman, he can lie like a dog, and it's fine, no problemo. So I'm sorry, man. I ain't buying any of this shit. Our owner should be taking. That's what he's really failed at. Owning the organization, paying attention to the organization. He's let the whole fucking shit go right off into the rocks. That's the truth. While he's drinking mimosas in Europe, that's a fact. He should be paying attention to medical staff. He should be doing this stuff. He should be holding Brian Cashman accountable. He should be pissed at Brian Cashman for calling up Derek Jeter and trying to make him an ass out of him. He should be doing all those kind of things. He doesn't, because he doesn't care. Repeat after me, my people. He doesn't care.
Yeah, and it's just going to be. That's why I'm really lowering my expectations for this upcoming season. I'm not expecting much from this ownership group and the management. I'm expecting the bare minimum, because that's all they give us. They do just enough to get us hyped up, but not enough for us to be like, oh, we can hang out in the yard with the bigger dogs. We're not the big dog anymore,
No.
and that's a big problem. Hal used to walk around like the dog that's running around in my yard.
Yeah.
That now he's that little nappy dog that you just annoys the shit out of you when they're barking in the yard at 3 a.m.
That's true, actually. They do annoy the shit out of me. That's a good comparison.
I'm just that expect the same bullshit. Really, they're not gonna go all in. Like there's this whole thing. Oh, trade for Skeens or trade for Scooble. They're not trading for fucking Skeens.
No.
They're not gonna, because they're gonna think that the prospects they'd have to give up, are going to be the next coming of the dynasty. The core four is never coming back. Prospects, as much as there are a handful where you're like, all right, this guy's untouchable, but prospects are empty promises. Some can be kept, some can't. And maybe it is time where we start this quote unquote prospect hugging. But if you're gonna want to, guys, anybody that's all in for Skeens at any cost, you're gonna be pissed off with who they give up. Keep that in mind when you ask about these, when you push for these things. Keep that, it's gonna hurt. So what if they have to give up, Lombard? What if they say we want Ben Rice? You can have fans going, no, that's too rich. Well, do you want Skeens or not? I say it all the time. Donald, how many times have I said it? The most impactful trades will hurt your organization.
It's true.
It's gonna hurt. But in a means to an end, if it takes getting Paul Skeens, I was looking forward to seeing Lombard Jr. Yeah, but adios. Because we don't know. Because we all know that once they come into the major leagues, they're gonna get fucked up anyway. So might as well just Do what you get the established player. Go all in for 2026. Get that title before the shutdown. Before this all gets locked up, shut it down. Everybody's on the table. Anybody on that, let me put it this way, anybody that has not been called up to the major leagues to this point is available for me.
So let's talk about 2026. So obviously, we know for a fact that Rodon will not be fully healthy for spring training and for the start of the year. Okay, so that's one guy. Garrett Cole, we know, is going to be around about June, something like that. Luis Heel, you never quite know. He could get hurt. He gets hurt a lot. Cam Schlittler is our one guy, but what about Clark Schmidt? I mean, he's coming off an injury, so he will not probably be fully ready for the start of the next year. There's actually going to be a lot of injuries, but once they all come together, once they're all healthy, then the starting rotation is absurd. It's absolutely brilliant. But we know for a fact that at minimum, the Yankees will need to sign one starter in free agency going into this year. I can see them just doing signing a Yarbrough. I mean, that's not a bad suggestion. He did absolutely fine this year. It's not the exciting name. I just don't know how much the Yankees are going to spend. I really don't, because Hal keeps talking about he wants to lower the. He keeps saying that the current payroll is unsustainable, which is a horrible, horrible look for the New York Yankees. Which basically his payroll, which would be 40% of his revenue, if that, is unsustainable. How is that unsustainable? I mean, that's frightening. The Dodgers spend like 90% of their revenue. The Mets spend like 95% of their revenue. And you're saying that spending 40% is unsustainable? You are unsustainable. Anyway, we go back to that. I'm not sure. So we definitely need a starter. Cookie Carrasco was penciled in. Cooked Carrasco was penciled in.
Roman.
I could definitely see Yarb. I don't think that the other guys are quite ready yet, like the Chase Hamptons and stuff. No. I don't think he'll be ready. So I could see a Yarbrough being signed. Maybe another type fifth starter that can easily move to a bullpen role once the starting rotation is up to scratch. As for the rest of the lineup, I think it's just going to be Cody Bellinger and then call it good. Maybe a right-handed catcher.
Yeah, I think we're gonna really. There's gonna be a big debate throughout the offseason. Bellinger and Tucker. Who the Yankees are better off getting. It's also gonna come down to what the contracts that they're looking for. And I don't see the Yankees making the first move to set the tone for the market. I don't see that happening. That really hasn't been their style in a long time. So as far as with the pitching, I mean, really, what's all the rotation looking at going into the opening day?
It's going to be Max Fried, Cam Schlittler, Luis Heel, Will Warren, and then one extra starter. Duran mentions here ERC. We are big fans of ERC. He is fantastic, so that's a possibility.
Well, down in the minor leagues, he's fantastic, but the Yankees don't.
But to be honest, the one thing I will say about the Yankees' development, their development of pitchers are absolutely spot on.
Because the pitching development has turned around.
Yeah, they're much better with that. They just can't deal with everyday players. But yeah, ERC is a possibility, and then also I would recommend that the Yankees sign like a Yarbrough and then another fifth starter, add some extra competition because we do know that there's a high probability that Luis Gil might pick up an injury or whatever, and Will Warren, who knows with him? Like, I'm not a fan. I don't think he's that good, but he was okay last year. Dreadful in the playoffs, but um, I think the Yankees will need to at least sign one more guy in the rotation for sure. But he doesn't need to be a big name. I want to put some serious money into this offense. Not that the offense did anything that would require serious money because they were the best offense in baseball last year, but you're not guaranteed that every year, and we need to start seriously thinking about Aaron Judge's window and also post Judge window. We're not guaranteed Aaron Judge to have 60 home runs right up until 30 fucking 2030 or whatever. You're not guaranteed that.
And
We
we
gotta
still
think
don't even know we don't know the full health of his arm yet.
we need to think about the next step. So, because Big G is only going to be here for another year or two.
I think he's got three more seasons, and he's
Cody
gone.
Bellinger does not have the bat. He doesn't have the bat. They should be going after Kyle Tucker. He's younger. He's better. That's the kind of waters they should be swimming in.
Yeah, and I know the chat is making a lot of excellent points about with the pitching. Look, the pitching depth, like we already said, pitching depth is not the problem. The Yankees have really turned around their pitching development. You know, and yeah, unfortunately, this previous season they just weren't ready yet. And yes, ERC is a huge name that we're looking forward to.
Agreed.
But
Chase Hampton's got some injuries, but we like Chase Hampton. He's highly rated in the organization. There's a lot of there's a ton coming through. There really
I'm
is.
saying,
So their development in terms of pitching is excellent. But why is it that they can't do the same with their everyday pool players?
yeah, I'm like, but to what I was saying before, as far as with this whole all these rumors, with with Skeens, you know, are any of those guys worth passing up on Skeens for?
No,
You know,
absolutely not. Like,
and that's the because
Skeens is stupidly good, man. Skeens is stupidly good.
exactly. It's not to dismiss the pitching depth that we have. They're friggin' awesome. If Hampton, it sucks that Hampton's had the injuries that he has. He's just getting his major league stats out of the way with the amount of time on the IL. But no, the pitching is not the problem. The position players are a problem. The development. Who's playing first base? We don't even have a fucking first baseman.
Tucker is a better player, but Hal won't spend $40 million a year, and that's the problem. How can a fucking afford $40 million a year? My God, he would make that up. He would make that $40 million up in ticket sales and jersey sales, and easily, probably by the summer. Yeah, easily. You know what I'm saying? Between the winter and the summer, you'd pay that $40 million back. The fans would pay that $40 million back like that. But he doesn't speculate to accumulate.
No, but like, what if Bellinger
right
wants? What if Bellinger wants $40 million for 5 years?
I'm not paying him. Fuck that.
I'm saying,
He's not that good. He isn't that good. I don't know why Yankee fans are just glazing over this guy so much. He's okay, but he's
because
not
he proved himself a valuable commodity for the organization.
right. I know that.
Yeah, so we know that he can. A lot of the big problem. Can they? It always comes down, Donald. It comes to that question: can they handle New York? Bellinger handled New York very, very well.
He could handle it, but if he loved the Yankees that much, why didn't he opt into his deal? I mean, that's his value for me. I think what he would get paid this year by opting in is what I would pay him. I'm
Well,
not.
that's why
I'm
I
not
think
paying
these
more than that.
contracts are going to be out of control because if there's a shutdown, they don't get paid. So if they are going to try to get as much as they can in that year one, it may not mean it may seem ridiculous to us that they were going to want 40-45 million dollars in that first year because they might not get a paycheck in 2027. And they're going to just go broke. We know that's but if you I'm sorry, if you have an inkling that you're going to for argument's sake, you're going to go a whole year without a paycheck, would you not want to try to get as much as you can while you can?
You're spot
So
on.
I
That's
think
the thing. That's the thing. I honestly do think that he and his agent were thinking, well, there could be a shutdown next in 2027.
exactly.
So
They're not
if
stupid.
if you opt yourself in, then you're going to be a free agent right when there's going to be a potential shutdown, and you won't know where you're going to be. So naturally, you want to take advantage of
Yep.
a very
And
good year
every
that
player
you
is going
had.
to do it to every team, not just the Yankees.
Exactly. And don't get me wrong here. When I'm saying that Hugh Bellinger isn't that good, doesn't mean that he isn't a good player. He's a good player. I gave him the low key MVP of this season. Like he for me was the low key MVP. In fact, there was a period where he was the MVP for the team. Like he was great, but long term, I don't think he's great. I think he was great last year, and I think he'll be pretty damn good next year. But anything beyond that, I can't guarantee because I've looked at his career. His career goes up and down, up and down, up and down. And if we're paying him $30+ million to have a bad year, we're in so much trouble because we know that the Yankees don't outspend their trouble. And that's why I'm going to go the safer bet. Tucker is a better player. He's not a better defensive player, but we need someone that can really give Aaron Judge the support that he needs. Really, look what he did with Juan Soto. So I want to see what he can do with a Kyle Tucker, who's just only a margin below Juan Soto, in my opinion. So I would be doing that, and to be honest, any organization with a brain would do that. But the Yankees will be fixated on Cody Bellinger. I'm sorry, Cody Bellinger should have opted into his deal if he really liked the Yankees that much. Once he opted out, I'm out. That's my opinion on it. Like for me, opt in, then you could be our center fielder or your starting first baseman. Mm-hmm. Opt out, I'm moving on. I'm finding someone younger, and I'm finding someone that can give me better value over the next 6-7 years, which Cody Bellinger won't. Cody Bellinger will be good for the next 2-3. Anything after that, you won't. I'll write it. You guys can write it down. I'll promise you. Cody Bellinger will not be the same player in 3 years' time. Absolutely will not. That's almost a fact.
Just to clear up as far as how what happens to the money during a lockdown. I looked it up the other day and took a screenshot of it. So during an MLB lockout, players do not receive regular salaries. They will continue to receive previous scheduled payments like signing bonuses, deferred compensation, and termination pay. If a lockout extends into a regular season, players will not be paid for games that would not have been played, although MLB Players Association may offer financial assistance, help with medical insurance, or no interest loans. So that's how it would work during the lockdown. These players that's why it might look if they're able to get deferred payments on these contracts. If there's what I would do is, all right, Bellinger, you want $40 million. We're going to defer your first year payment, your first year of your contract. We're going to defer a percentage of it to 2027. This way, at least if there's a lockdown, you at least and you stretch the money out.
Do you agree with
The
Duran?
risk of that is if there's no lockdown, you got to pay the extra. You know, you would have to do it that way.
Bellinger will age better than Tucker, and he can play first base, unlike Tucker, so he can be hidden better. Dude, we're going to be paying him to be a star. You're going to be paying him $30+ million per year. We kind of hide $30+ million. Like, he needs to be premium through most of the duration of his contract. That's why I don't believe that that's a smart contract to be doing, because I don't think he's going to be premium quality in 3-4 years' time.
You know
I'm
what I
not
think would make a.
You can't hide him.
You know, I think what would be a fun show. Maybe we'll do this in the next one. Would you rather have? Is it a Bellinger and Tucker? Behind the plate, would you rather Wells or Realmuto's a free agent? Bichette or Volpe? Try to. I think that would be a little bit of fun. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Although we now know the answer, but they won't be going after
But
him.
you know what I mean. You know where I'm going with that, though. I think that'd be to go through all the positions. Would you rather have?
Oh, of course. I mean, you were saying earlier we don't have a first baseman. I think that Aaron Boone did say in the press conference he believes that Ben Rice is his first baseman. That doesn't exactly fill me with a ton of confidence because
No,
I think
not
Ben
with
Rice
not with
is gonna.
Alonso on the market.
Yeah, I want Pete Alonso. I would
I'm
love Pete
okay
Alonso.
with that. But it's I think because he's not the worst first baseman. He's not he's no Mark Teixeira, but he's no Tino Martinez. He's no Don Mattingly. But he's a good first baseman. And I think his bat would do very well at Yankee Stadium. And he loves the New York atmosphere. So he's been raised in this. I think that would be an asset to the Yankees.
Yeah,
Um,
I
so
love Ben Rice. I would have him as our catcher personally. Um, but here's the thing: if we sign Pete Alonso, then if they wanted to sign Cody Bellinger, then fine. But our only free agent cannot be Cody Bellinger.
no, they have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, that's not enough. That's not enough, and it will backfire. It will
Because
backfire. Spectacularly.
you need starting pitching because you won't have Rodon to start the season.
Yeah.
You don't have Volpe to start the season, which may be a blessing in disguise. Let's be honest. First base is a question mark. Left field and center field are a question mark. Third base, are they going to stick with McMahon? As far as his defense is fine, but are they going to look for the upgrade on the offensive level?
Well, that's the thing.
What
Can you
happens
really
when you get
afford?
Osvaldo Cabrera back into the mix with him being healthy? Where does he fit in? So there's still a lot. There is a lot for the Yankees to do, and they have little time to do it.
That's the question. If you look at the way the lineup is made up, right? There's not enough righty bats for one. Okay.
I know we went from no lefty bats to all lefty bats.
Right.
It's not
They need
balanced.
to add some righty bats. They don't have any righty catchers. So you assume that they're going to go and get a righty catcher because they kind of have to. So there's that. There's not really a first baseman. We don't really have a natural first baseman out there. Third base, you're kind of right though, because if you look at it, like McMahon isolated, fine. You're giving you Gold Glove defense, whatever he gives you on offense as a bonus, no problem. But then right beside him is Anthony Volpe, who is a disaster. I don't know if you could afford to have three bad bats in the lineup. Austin Wells, McMahon, Anthony Volpe in the same lineup. I don't think you can trust that. I don't think I can trust that. And I'm not going to trust that Cody Bellinger is going to give me the kind of power to make up for those three black holes. So So yeah, defensively, Austin Wells is amazing. Defensively, McMahon's amazing. Uh, Anthony Volpe, well, before he popped his elbow or popped his shoulder, his defense is pretty good. So defense is one thing, but offense, I would start to worry about that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think they really need to start investing in a long-term power option, because Big G's only going to be here for a year or two, and Aaron Judge ain't guaranteed to be Aaron Judge every single year. So they need to be doing something different, but they never do. And I do really like the point that one of our commenters had earlier, that the Yankees are built for the regular season. I believe it was TC Steeles that said that. Yes, we do. We need 2 or 3 contact hitters, preferably right-handed. The Yankees definitely overcompensated in that regard. The Yankees are built for the regular season. Once they get to the postseason, they fall apart.
Well, they're built to get to the postseason, but that's as far as their construction goes.
Exactly. That's because that's how far the analytics goes. The analytics can't analyze over a short period of time. They can only give you a large sample size of over 162 games. You know, the spreadsheet will come up with the maths that and will be good for 94 wins, and they follow it, and it works. But then once you get to the postseason, when you require a manager that has a brain, and when you require good roster construction that can handle tough, tight battles in the postseason, they don't have it.
Yeah, it's like I said, they got a lot of work to do, and it's gonna be a long, it's gonna be a stressful off season. I think it's gonna be fun, but it's gonna be stressful as all hell. But we'll get into a lot more of the filling out positions
This I agree with 100%.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. But that goes along the same way. They're built to get to the postseason, but then once they get to that level of competition, they're the lesser team. That's the truth, though.
Right here as well, the Yankees have a black hole after hitter 5 in their lineup.
I mean, you saw the Blue Jays last night.
Yeah, same thing.
I mean, an 18-inning World Series game. Holy shit! I didn't catch any of it because I was busy doing things, and then I was asleep. But I did watch a little bit of the game yesterday, and the bottom of the order is, they're not an easy out. And that's why these are the teams that are playing in the World Series. And so with that,
World Series is all, and I read that one of the games went 18 innings, and I was like,
the game went till 3 in the freaking morning.
But I did see that Ohtani got on base 9 times in one game. He's
9 times.
He is.
It's insane.
That's insane. 9 in a World Series game, you're on base 9 times. He's going to be pitching as well.
And then he had to pitch the next day.
Yeah, that dude.
Because he was the starting pitcher yesterday.
How did he do? Did he do okay?
He did. He pitched. The pitch count was high.
Right.
It wasn't tough, but he went into the 7th inning. Only down 2-1.
Fuck. That's
and then
good.
Toronto once they went to the bullpen, Toronto opened up the floodgate.
He's the best player.
I watched the 7th inning, and I was like, "Yeah, the Jays have this one."
Yeah, he's the best player in baseball. I mean, that's just stupid. You're on base 9 times in one game in a World Series.
Yep.
You're the best. And you're pitching the next day. That's crazy. So, hopefully the Dodgers win, because I can't have a Canadian team win the World Series.
Well, this was a big debate we were having, when I was
hanging
out with some of my fishing friends, and I know I got to get out of here, but I got to say this real quick. A big debate was, but they want Mattingly to have that World Series ring, even if it wasn't with the Yankees. At least he has it. And the other argument I heard for the Blue Jays winning was, if the Dodgers win, they'll be able to say that they had back-to-back World Series, which hasn't happened since the dynasty years of the Yankees. So right now, the Yankees are the only team to win back-to-back World Series.
Mm.
So they want to keep the Yankees in that category. So it's it's a tough to call. Yeah, I got to. I'm making notes of some comment topics. That'll be a lot of fun for an after dark. Uh, so just some vacation time, some family things going on. It's just leaving me with very little energy.
Would you go and get Boba Fett, Ted?
Yes, if it means replacing Volpe, absolutely.
Absolutely.
If there was ever a window for the Yankees to just move on from Volpe as an everyday starter, this is the only window you're going to get.
Exactly.
So they better take advantage of it. But with that, we do hope everybody enjoyed the content, enjoyed the discussions. We enjoyed having them with you. So with that, make sure you hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this out. Your friends, your family, your strangers on the corner. Mocha Tats here with Donald and all of you. So with that, make sure you wear the pinstripes of pride and play hard.